Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 112. Visit. Lu Ying and Xiao Shan were arranged to stay in a small tent in a secluded valley, while Chongming had flown to who knows where after entering Li Chuan. When Chen Xing returned to Xiangshu's royal tent, which had been set up again, he suddenly felt like he had just returned home. He lay down on the blanket and said, I'm finally back. Xiangshu, also very tired, sat down on one side. He had gone through too many things along the journey. An attendant soon came bringing food and water. It's not like you've been here before, said Xiangshu. Chen Xing, holding the blanket, rolled around and let himself be wrapped by it. He looked at Xiangshu and smiled. I came here in a dream. After a moment of silence, Xiangshu poured himself 2 cups of milk tea. But when he was just about to come over, Chen Xing, who was dead tired, had already fallen asleep. The vast sky of autumn was bright and clear. There were still 2 more days before the autumn close festival. The Hu people, who had left Karakoram and now returned to their homeland, looked as if they had recovered their lives. For some reason, it seemed that this year's autumn close festival was going to be held in a particularly grand fashion. When Chen Xing woke up, he only felt that his whole body was going to fall apart. They had been traveling far and wide for days and nights in Sibei for nearly a month, with practically every day on horseback. Even his whole body was bouncing about in his dreams. Wuo Chen Xing went down the hillside and saw tall poles being erected all over the place, with banners in a multitude of colors, each embroidered with one Hu tribe's sacred beast decorating heaven and earth. Totems were raised one after another, and soon, every Hu camp had its own hustle and bustle. Camping in front of the mountains was the Ruren. Known for their outstanding forges, their sturdy fire columns would illuminate the all-night merriment of the autumn close festival. The Tile, who were great at hunting, put up a platform filled with bows and arrows inside their camp alongside feathered stakes 100 paces away, ready to be used for testing arrows. The master at rearing horses, the Xiannu, fenced in the hunting ground within a 10 li radius in preparation for horse galloping and racing bets in Li Chuan, while the Xianbei, the experienced herders, set up a large tent for the herding goods with geese and cow horns. The Jiang, adept at mounted warfare, opened up a field for horseback fighting competition. And the Mohi, combat experts, penned in the wrestling field. And neatly arranged in the center surrounded by all of the camps, were thousands of long tables. By the start of the autumn close festival, each of the tribes would bring out their best kumis, richest milk tea, geese, pastries, roasted meat, fish, geese, and other quarry for any guests to eat. Outside the camp in the distance was the ancient tree of Li Chuan, fluttering red silk ribbon wrapped all around it. Legend had it that lovers who pledged their love beneath this tree would have their love stretching as far as the mountains, an affection that lasted for a lifetime. Chen Xing walked through the camp and asked, "Where's the great Chen Yu?" "He's dealing with an official matter." A Tile who knew of Chen Xing's identity said, "Divine Doctor, shall I take you there?" "Meeting, always in a meeting." Chen Xing waved his hand, indicating to just forget it. He was walking into the camp, intending to see many of his old friends, when he heard a voice coming from behind him. "Chen Xing." Tuoba Yan came over. Chen Xing cheerfully asked, "You've also returned?" On the bank of the Barkal Lake, Chen Xing had asked Sima Wei and Tuoba Yan to take the Akales back to Longcheng. Che Lukfeng rushed over after all of the tribes had finished evacuating. Carrying out Xiangshu's order, they once again went south to return to Li Chuan. Tuoba Yan had gone to see Chen Xing last night, but unfortunately, Chen Xing had been sleeping like a pig then, so today, he had waited outside for Chen Xing to wake up early in the morning. The 2 people briefly exchanged new information, and Tuoba Yan became flabbergasted after hearing what Chen Xing said. Smiling, Chen Xing said, "I'm planning to pay a visit to people one by one. Want to come with?" Tuoba Yan nodded and followed behind Chen Xing, seeming as though an awkward matter hung between them. The two traversed the golden yellow prairie, already cleaned out of wine barrels, with Tuoba Yan carefully protecting Chen Xing and not letting him be touched. Chen Xing studied his expression and, guessing that he had something to ask, probed in, "Do you have something you want to say?" Tuoba Yan thought for a while before he finally decided to ask, "Chen Xing, can I become an exorcist?" "Chen Xing," Tuoba Yan said, "I want to learn how to do magic, just like you. That way, perhaps I can be of help in the future." Chen Xing had wanted to dispel him of this idea. "No matter what, you are still the most reliable military official by Fujian's side. While the matter of Fujian going insane is truly abrupt, but given enough time, he should eventually recover. Once that happens, wait until Wangzi has been exorcised, and you can return and resume your duty as the regular mounted attendant, okay?" But with Xian's case as the precedent, Chen Xing now instead felt that everyone might have their own desires. After seeing the world, it was also common for people to be unwilling to return to their original life. "It's very tiring to be an exorcist," replied Chen Xing. "Are you sure you wish to be one? For what reason do you want to learn magic any?" Tuoba Yan smiled. "Only after leaving Chang'an did I know that the world is so big. I want to do my utmost for His Majesty and repay his kindness of recognizing my worth. After the matter here is finished, I will not stay in the court anymore. Instead, I want to take a walk all over the place." Chen Xing knew that Tuoba Yan had always been a person with a rather free temperament. Had he not been taken in by Fujian in the beginning, perhaps he would have lived a different life. Tuoba Yan said, "I don't know whether you're willing to accept me as an apprentice." Chen Xing was spooked out of his mind the moment he heard this and hurriedly replied, "I'm not qualified to accept you as an apprentice. I can, however, introduce my Shikshan to you. He's in the south, and if you don't mind this, you both may be of kindred spirits. He likes studying magic the most." "That's great," Tuoba Yan said at once. "Write me a letter, and I'll leave for the south to find him after the autumn close festival." While Tuoba Yan had actually seen Xian before, the situation had been so chaotic at that time, and he still didn't know that Xian was Chen Xing's chief Shikshan. Since Chen Xing didn't have time to teach him magic, nor did he know how to teach an apprentice, he was afraid it would delay his progress. Letting him go find Xian was, in all likelihood, a good option. It would be up to Xian to either formally accept him as an apprentice or consider him as someone of the same generation. And thus, the two people reached an agreement. Chen Xing arrived outside of the Xianlu camp and shouted inside, "Xiao Shan." Xiao Shan was currently playing with Chen Xing's dog, teaching it how to jump in circles. He smiled the moment he saw Chen Xing and greeted him with a hey. Chen Xing felt displeased. "Now that you have Lu Ying, you don't pay any attention to me anymore. Xiao Shan, I wanted to go to sleep with you yesterday, but Gage kicked me out." Also familiar with Xiao Shan, Tuoba Yan smiled as he came over and exchanged some words with him. Chen Xing, looking into the forest on one side of the tent, seemed to hear Chongming and Lu Ying conversing in a low voice. "I'm coming over." Chen Xing gave an early warning as to not accidentally overhear unpleasant words Chongming was saying about him, before going straight into the forest. This was a remote corner of Chi Li Chuan. Xiangshu had specially arranged a residence for them, a place with trees and streams away from the Hu camp, to avoid Lu Ying getting disturbed by the noise. Lu Ying was currently plucking leaves off a tree, while Chongming, folding his arms, was leaning against another tree as he said something to him. Daylight streamed down gently upon the forest, its radiance seemingly coming from some kind of divine light that had gathered into visible beams. Lu Ying, dressed in a white robe with a handful of leaves on his hands, looked like an ancient god of the forest. "Woke up?" Lu Ying said. "Did you sleep well? We even paid you a special visit last night, in order to give you a dreamless night. Chen Xing's vitality had been completely restored. Not only was there no need for him to burn his Hun and Po in order to use the heart lamp, he could also use it more freely this time around. But nonetheless, if he used it too much, it would drain him of his vitality. His sleep last night had been extremely comfortable and far from all kinds of strange dreams, which made him brim with energy. Seeing Chen Xing come over, Chongming's face turned agitated. Upon arriving, Chen Xing surmised that the topic two people had been talking about was most likely related to the third wish. Chongming might have also been complaining to Lu Ying, asking why had he given the amber containing his own nirvana ashes to Chen Xing in the first place, which caused him to be tied down now. Let's confirm, Chen Xing smiled as he said, Your Majesty the Yao King, the third wish is still yet to be fulfilled, right? Chongming became angry. Gu is the Yao King, how could he go back on his words? Lu Ying couldn't hold back a smile. What exactly do you want to wish for? If you could be considerate of my face, please let him go as soon as possible. Ba. Chen Xing gave them a sly smile. In fact, he had already thought well about this third wish. Then, I'll make arrangements once the autumn close festival is over, replied Chen Xing. Lu Ying, what do you plan to do? What are you doing? Plucking off leaves to be used as herbs, Lu Ying answered, to cure the mortals in Qi Le Chuan. Thus, Lu Ying cleverly avoided the topic by not giving Chen Xing a direct answer. From Chen Xing's perspective, he was naturally eager for Lu Ying to follow their party, and based on how Xiao Shan looked, he certainly was unwilling to be separated from him too. However, the previous time around, Lu Ying had mentioned that he wanted to leave the Central Plains and pursue the traces of Buddha in those moments before he scattered into stardust. Moreover, the Grey Wolf's complete departure must have left him with a lot of regrets. So, right now, Chen Xing would rather respect Lu Ying's choice and let him decide. Xiao Shan, bringing Tuobayan, also came into the forest and said, Lu Ying, this is Tuobayan, my friend. After plucking off the last herb, Lu Ying smiled while giving Tuobayan a nod. At this time, Lu Ying was bathed in the mottled shadow of the trees, a gentle ray enveloping his handsome face. His long hair, let loose, framed the side of his face. With his refined and perfect side profile, his fair complexion, and the long pale robe he was wearing, he looked like an immortal banished to earth, elegant and graceful. I am under your care, Lu Ying gently said. Tuobayan. Tuobayan stared at Lu Ying in a daze, and the two people just looked at each other. When Lu Ying saw Tuobayan, he too felt slightly dazed all of a sudden, causing a leaf to flutter away and fall down from between his slender and fair fingers. After another moment of silence between the two, Tuobayan immediately strode forward and bent down to pick up the leaf before handing it back to Lu Ying. At this gesture, Lu Ying beamed. Chen Xing introduced them to each other, this is Lu Ying, Tuobayu. Tuobayan's face flushed red in an instant. He subconsciously turned to Chen Xing before returning his gaze to Lu Ying, while the rest of the people appeared puzzled as they looked at Tuobayan. Xiao Shan, in particular, was completely at a loss. Lu Ying, let's go sit inside the tent. Oh, okay, Tuobayan hurriedly replied. Sorry to intrude. Lu Ying suddenly thought that this person was very interesting. He turned around and walked ahead, unable to contain his laugh. After returning to the tent and sitting down, he personally made them milk tea. Looking at Lu Ying, whose corners of mouth were still carrying a faint hint of smile, Chen Xing was also stumped. He had only seen his face in passing back in Karasha, so he hadn't realized it then, but after getting acquainted with him nowadays, Chen Xing felt that this white deer transformation of the ancient deity indeed had some kind of mythical personality. It was as if, so long as one stayed by his side, they would get this feeling as if their surroundings were welcoming the spring back to earth, brimming with life. Tuobayan, I. Hello, Lu Ying. Chen Xing immediately understood what had happened. This is just like when he had first met Tue Bayan in the Yuan residence back then. Chen Xing's heart couldn't help but thump. Tue Bayan falls in love at first sight again. I will go out for a walk. Tue Bayan, who seemed to have turned a bit silly, turned around and left the tent. Xiao Shan. Chongming. Chen Xing stroked his forehead. He really couldn't bear to see it, nor did he know whether this was actually a good or a bad thing. Lu Ying said, "He's your friend." Xiao Shan was puzzled. "He's not usually like this, Tue Bayan." Chen Xing took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Lu Ying, you seem to have made him, slightly. Lu Ying understood and laughed heartily. Chen Xing thought in his heart, this is troublesome. Poor Tue Bayan, what are you supposed to do? It doesn't matter, Lu Ying said, his face plastered with an intoxicating smile. He'll forget about me soon. Chen Xing, you still, forget it, do as you see fit ba. Chongming silently drank his milk tea, seemingly thinking of another matter, before he suddenly got up and left the tent. Chen Xing, remembering his purpose of coming over, asked Lu Ying, what should I do about Xiangshu's memory? Lu Ying, you have to help me with this. Chen Xing had originally wanted to wait for Xiangshu to inquire after the event in the stone tower, and take the opportunity then to tell him about all kinds of things that had transpired between them in the past. However, Xiangshu's bewilderment and restlessness interrupted him. Looking at his reaction and mood, Chen Xing felt a little worried that he would receive a big blow from it. But again, it was not at all easy to put it aside for the time being. And so, Chen Xing continued to hesitate, should I or should I not come clean and tell him everything that happened in the past? Lu Ying just smiled. No need to worry, you will soon see the result. With him experiencing all manners of things with you these days, Shulakong has remembered past matters one by one. Now that the three parts of dragon power had blended in once more, given time, he will surely be able to remember. Chen Xing interjected, but time waits for no man. Lu Ying smiled mysteriously as he raised his index and middle finger to make a shushing gesture. Let nature take its course. The solution might be close at hand any. This remark was equal to I'm not saying anything. Tue Bayan came in once more and sat beside Xiao Shan, his movements stiff. Chen Xing? Lu Ying asked Tue Bayan. You, what were you talking about? Who is that brother that had just gone out? No one, Chen Xing dully answered. No one. Lu Ying carefully looked at Tue Bayan's expression as he said with a smile. Being observed like this, Tue Bayan suddenly blushed again. Chen Xing even saw the top of his head sending out smoke. Lu Ying, as a great Yao that had lived for several thousand years, looked at Tue Bayan as if looking at a child. He perhaps didn't take him seriously at all, much less feeling the slightest bit embarrassed. This was truly fatal for Tue Bayan. All right ba, Chen Xing thus said. Then, let's just celebrate the festival in Chi Le Chuan for these 2 days ba. I'm really tired after all this journey, and only wish that tomorrow I can just think about nothing. I'll take my leave first, I still need to make my visit to the Akele people. Please wait, Lu Ying said. At tomorrow's autumn close festival, in case you're not busy, could you spend time with me and Xiao Shan? I can. Tue Bayan interjected. I'm always very idle. I'll come looking for you tomorrow. Chen Xing, he didn't ask you. All right. Lu Ying, if Xiangshu isn't busy, I'll. Xiao Shan and I will wait for you in front of the Ruren's fire dragon before the sun sets, Lu Ying gently said. If things go contrary to how you wish, there's no harm in bringing Shulakong as well. Chen Xing. Lu Ying, however, had already made a pleased gesture. Chen Xing, who still didn't probe into the meaning of the words if things go contrary to how you wish, had to politely get up and take his leave. Yet Tuoba Yan was still sitting as before, giving out a bright and elegant smile as he looked at Lu Ying. Lu Ying, your friend has already left. You're not going to follow him? Ah, yes, yes. Tuoba Yan responded at once. He's very busy today, but I'm not. Tuoba Yan. Come out here. Chen Xing said, his voice somewhat angry. Lu Ying laughed again, and only then did Tuoba Yan realize that Lu Ying meant to see the guest off. He hurriedly nodded while saying, then I will come to find you tomorrow. Xiao Shan watched Tuoba Yan's figure leaving, and suddenly sensing a strand of huge crisis, he turned his head to examine Lu Ying. What? Jealous? Lu Ying said to Xiao Shan, a smile plastered on his face. Outside the tent. You just forget your friends when smitten with a new love. Chen Xing simply didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tuoba Yan defended himself, I don't. I just suddenly felt he was particularly dear for some reason. I have absolutely no other meaning. What's inside your mind is all written on your face, okay? Chen Xing was helpless. Everyone can see it at a glance. Ah! Tuoba Yan stood in a daze. Is it that obvious? Chen Xing, losing his temper, just turned around and walked down the mountain road. Tuoba Yan hurriedly caught up with him and asked, wait, Chen Xing, Tianke. What person is he? His surname is Lu, is he a Han? Chen Xing, it's impossible for him to respond to your exorcist, Chongming's voice suddenly rang out. Chongming folded his hands across his chest as he leaned his back against the tree by the road. He then snapped his slender fingers impatiently as he cast a seemingly meaningful glance at Chen Xing. Chen Xing halted his steps. Chongming said, Gu will wait for you in front of the Ruren's fire dragon tomorrow evening. Come over if you are free. Chen Xing let out an "oh" and suddenly felt he had experienced the same thing before. This was just like what happened during that autumn deity the first time around. Where is he from? Tuoba Yan, unwilling to give up, inquired once Chongming had left, is he your friend? How long have you known each other? Chen Xing, who had wanted to tell Tuoba Yan about Lu Ying's identity, suddenly had a second thought. Why don't you ask him these questions yourself? The answers coming out of his own mouth are definitely better than the ones from outsiders, am I right? Tuoba Yan suddenly felt enlightened and smiled. What you said is correct. He appears just like an immortal. An immortal who stands well above the common people. He's very beautiful. You're so noisy. Chen Xing said. I don't want anything related to Lu Ying passing through my ears anymore. Tuoba Yan, since you're really idle with nothing to do, just go help the Akales prepare for the horse race. Go, go, go. Chen Xing listened to the point he felt his ears grew calluses, and only when they at last arrived outside the Akale camp did he finally manage to drive Tuoba Yan away before coming inside for a visit. King Akale had gone out to prepare for the autumn close festival. Since it was the first time in years, they had returned to Chi Le Chuan to celebrate it, ever since their relationship with the Rurens had turned hostile. After listening to Chen Xing's narration and learning that Yuduo was guarding Karasha on the deer god's behalf, the consort nodded as she smiled. Nadaro. Chen Xing smiled. Your big brother is still here, and might even come over to see you one day, too. The consort said in a soft voice, thank you, all of you. After hurriedly replying with you're welcome, Chen Xing stretched out a hand and gently poked Nadaro's little hand with his little finger, which the baby grabbed as a response. Can I carry him in my arms? Chen Xing asked. Of course. The consort smiled and gave Nadaro for Chen Xing to hug, but Chen Xing just barely held him when a series of sounds rang out from behind him. The great Chanyu has arrived. Xiang Shu, who had already rushed into the tent like a gust of wind even before the announcement was finished, angrily said, What are you doing here? Nadaro, startled, was scared to near tears. Chen Xing immediately turned his head and ordered Xiang Shu to keep his voice down so as to not frighten the baby. "What are you doing?" Holding Nataro, Chen Xing turned around and saw Xiang Shu roll up his sleeves, looking as if he was about to hit someone. The consort immediately got up and saluted while trying to explain, "Great Chan Yu, please quell your... Why did you leave without leaving a word?" Xiang Shu incredulously asked. "Where could I have gone to?" Chen Xing asked. "Am I not perfectly fine in this place?" Opening his eyes, Nataro looked at the two people and suddenly burst out crying. Chen Xing immediately reprimanded, "Xiang Shu, if you don't coax him today, I won't let this pass." When he saw Nataro crying, Xiang Shu suddenly felt totally embarrassed. The consort hurriedly said, it's okay. He cries all the time, just give this to him." Without any better option, Xiang Shu rushed to coax Nataro. He stretched out his finger and gently stroked his stomach, only for Nataro to end up kicking his wrist and crying even more. "Is this how you coax a child?" Chen Xing criticized. "Can you do it or not? Make some funny faces." Xiang Shu. "Pull the corners of your mouth up," Chen Xing said, "and push your nose up. Can you pull a face or not? I'm going to be angry." Helpless, Xiang Shu had no choice but to use his hands to pinch his own face for Nataro to look at. Seeing it, Nataro was stumped. Yes, just like that." Chen Xing laughed so wildly in his heart. "Tilt your mouth to the left." "Yes. That's it." Hugging Nataro, Chen Xing came closer to Xiang Shu. Nataro reached out and, catching him off guard, he managed to firmly grasp Xiang Shu's ear. "You, let go." Xiang Shu, whose ear was pulled by Nataro, also couldn't force him to let go for fear it might hurt the baby's tender wrist. At this, Chen Xing burst into laughter so big that even tears came out. The consort came out and saw her son pulling the great Chanyu's ear, not wanting to let go. She then rushed over to coax him by handing him something, a necklace packed with beeswax and turquoise stone. "Yuduo gave it to him before he left," said the consort. Sure enough, Nataro stopped bawling after receiving his elder brother's belongings. Hugging the necklace, he gradually quieted down. After leaving the Akele camp when the evening fell, Xiang Shu and Chen Xing followed the pathway as stars filled the whole sky of Chi Le Chuan. "When I returned to the royal tent, I didn't see you." Xiang Shu frowned deeply as he angrily said, "When I ask again, there was also no trace of Tuoba Yan. Where have you been?" "I've been in Chi Le Chuan all along." Chen Xing said. "No need to be so anxious, okay?" "Xiang Shu, Gilwang thought you just left without saying anything again. You really, seriously made me burst with anger. Have I ever done such a thing?" Chen Xing was between laughter and tears. "You really have." Arriving under the ancient tree, Xiang Shu felt annoyed. "Not just once." Chen Xing, when? Chen Xing recalled that it had happened only once, which should be that moment he had gone to Karasha. Several more occasions after that were clearly because he had been kidnapped, but Xiang Shu surely was including all of those in his head as well. Xiang Shu suddenly turned mute again. Since he had known Chen Xing, he indeed didn't seem to have done anything without letting him know. "You're just fond of becoming extremely anxious," Chen Xing said. "Are you sick?" "Yes." Xiang Shu lost his patience. "I am. Gilwang is sick." "If you know, then that's good." Even though Chen Xing was totally amused in his heart, he said this with a serious face. Xiang Shu obviously had gone to look for Chen Xing because he had something to say, but he had already forgotten about it. When he returned to the tent and found that Chen Xing wasn't there, a scene of Chen Xing leaving to a distant place without saying anything, Tuoba Yan in tow, somehow inexplicably appeared inside his mind. While he knew this was illogical, there seemed to be a deep-rooted shadow inside Xiang Shu's mind. He immediately felt irritated and looked for him all over the place, even dispatching guards to search down south. But knowing that it was a mere false alarm now, he hurriedly ordered the guards to come back to celebrate the festival. Go back to eat dinner. Xiang Shu was still not content. Chen Xing, there's still someone I want to see. Accompany me ba. Xiang Shu didn't inquire more and just followed behind Chen Xing. The two people went around the Akele camp toward the easternmost part of Chi Le Chuan, to the far end camp bordering the Yin Mountains. Hung in front of several abandoned carriages were animal hides to resist snow. There was a campfire in the middle, on which there was a stove currently boiling amber-colored sweets. The huge wolf white mane lay on one side, its tail sweeping leisurely back and forth on the grass. Sitting by the campfire was Sima Wei and Yuduo. Chen Xing was surprised. You came back. Yuduo and Sima Wei, who were looking at the sweets inside the iron pot, both got up and saluted Chen Xing. Sima Wei spoke on Yuduo's behalf. He came to see his former family and will go back to Karasha right away. Yuduo set forth, but Chen Xing said, you're not going to see your parents and little brother. Sima Wei replied for Yuduo, he already looked at them from far across the camp today. Chen Xing knew that Yuduo must have been worried about his family's living circumstances after they had moved to Chi Le Chuan. Now that he had seen it with his own eyes, he could feel at ease. What is this? Chen Xing asked again. Sweets. Yuduo opened his mouth and spoke this time. Sima Wei said food for children to eat during the autumn close festival. Saying so, Sima Wei picked out some sweets inside the pot using a bamboo stick and gave it to Chen Xing. Xiang Shu said, I won't eat. Sounds of children playing in the night could be heard coming from the distance. This place wasn't far from the Xianlu camp, and it seemed that the children weren't afraid of the drought fiend Sima Wei. Chen Xing saw that he had finally settled down and nodded. Since tomorrow is the autumn close festival, paint your face a little and go to Chi Le Chuan to celebrate the festival with them. Thank you, Sima Wei replied. Xiang Shu had already told the Hu people not to mind Sima Wei. Since the people living in Chi Le Chuan had not experienced the drought fiend chaos like those in Chang'an, their understanding of living corpses was only that of bones of the dead. Naturally, they were not also afraid of him. On the contrary, the young children found him very interesting and often came to play with him. Wind so strong it could level the land blew across the thousands of li prairie outside of Chi Le Chuan, yet the Yin Mountains encircling this paradise on earth gently prevented it from wreaking havoc. After finishing his visits, Chen Xing ate some of the sweets on the bamboo stick before handing it to Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu's anger had completely subsided, but he was still feeling impatient. I really don't want it, I'm not a child. Chen Xing knew that Xiang Shu was the type who would deny with his lips but affirm in his heart. He had obviously eaten sweets during the autumn deity festival, so Chen Xing just poked it to his face and said, try it ma. This is the drought fiend sweets the drought fiend king has worked hard to make, you really aren't giving him any face like this. Seeing that Chen Xing would poke the sticky sweets on his nose again, Xiang Shu could only resign. All right. Don't paste it on my face. Eat here, Chen Xing said. I haven't bitten this side. But Xiang Shu instead took a bite from the side Chen Xing had eaten. He frowned after one bite. Too sweet. It was quiet on the eve of the autumn close festival. Chen Xing suddenly blushed, and borrowing the glimmer of the stars, he also saw Xiang Shu's face flushed all the way to the base of his ears. Xiang Shu said, how about now? Let's return. Your ear is so red, Chen Xing said. Because Nataro pulled it, replied Xiang Shu. That small boy is very strong. Chen Xing, but how come I remember that he was pulling the other side? Xiang Shu. End chapter. Dinghai Fusion Records. Chapter 113. Challenge. Such a strong wind. At night, Chen Xing heard swooshes coming from outside the tent. The gale, seemingly having managed to overcome the mountain ranges on all three sides, converged toward Chi Le Chuan at the center. After finishing dinner, Xiang Shu said, "Sleep. While you should have enough sleep, Guowang is practically about to die from work." Oi, magical artifact. Chen Xing and Xiang Shu each occupied a bed. Covered in a blanket, Chen Xing stretched his hand out and poked Xiang Shu, who was lying down. "Are you asleep?" "Xiang Shu. The displays outside won't fall over, right?" Chen Xing was worried. "If they're blown away by the wind, we won't be able to celebrate the autumn close festival tomorrow." Xiang Shu replied, "The pasture isn't located where the wind is blowing, it's going to be okay." "What were you busy all day long with at the tribe's meeting today?" Chen Xing asked again. "And your business with that is?" Xiang Shu turned over, his back at Chen Xing. Chen Xing felt a little jealous. As a matter of fact, following their return from Sibei, he had been feeling that while Xiang Shu was his protector outside of Chi Le Chuan, he must return to his identity as the Great Chanyu once they came back. He had a lot of matters to attend to and had clansmen to be taken care of, so Chen Xing also couldn't monopolize him all the time. Although he felt that based on their current relationship, Xiang Shu would surely accompany him to the south, they had never brought up about the future. Before the autumn close festival has been concluded, Xiang Shu directly cut him off. "I don't want to talk about anything related to exorcism." "All right," Chen Xing acquiesced and put the matter off until after the festival. As the strong wind blew all night long, Chen Xing had many bizarre dreams. Amidst the total darkness outside the tent, a dark Qi hurricane embodiment of Shu manifested and roared, wanting to wreak havoc to their royal tent. However, sitting cross-knee by his side, Xiang Shu protected him as he summoned a golden rock dragon that flew around the royal tent that made Shu unable to get closer to him. It wasn't until Xiang Shu pushed aside the covering did the morning sunlight begin to pour into the tent and shine on Chen Xing's face as he heard hubbub and laughter from outside. "Get up," Xiang Shu said. "Freshen up, change your clothes." "Still asleep?" Some tile youths swarmed in as soon as the royal tent was opened. Chen Xing said, Wait. I still haven't properly dressed yet." After getting up with much fanfare, he went behind the screen to freshen himself up. Generous laughter could be heard amidst the chaos, and Xiang Shu, sitting calmly on the couch in his undergarment, was exposing his fit, fair, and beautiful chest. The youths came forward and began to serve him by straightening out the royal robe. Wearing a warrior royal apparel with a martial-style sleeve and wide-style sleeve on another, Xiang Shu looked more magnificent than in the previous martial armor that he had been wearing during the previous autumn close festival. The black royal robe that covered his whole body was not traced with dark totems this time around, but golden threads forming clear patterns instead. White jade loops were hung down decorating his braids, while on his fingers were 3 brilliantly glittering rings. "Go change his clothes," Xiang Shu, looking at Chen Xing came out from behind the screen, commanded. Chen Xing immediately refused, "I'll do it myself." "You don't know how to wear the Hu clothing," stated Xiang Shu. Chen Xing had wanted to say that he was actually fine wearing the Han clothing, but the youths already pressed him on the couch. They dressed him in a navy blue robe embroidered with dragon, deer, and wolf patterns sewn in purple and golden threads. Chen Xing. This Hu suit was of Xiongnu standard, but it was custom made in such a way for him to preserve the Han people's custom of wrapping the right side before the left. "The Queen of Akale people rushed her people to make it just for you," Xiang Shu supplied. "There's no need to specifically go to thank her since she will come to see you in a moment." A burst of warmth couldn't help but bubble forth in Chen Xing's heart. Continuing on, the 4 youths untied his hair and weaved it into fine braids before gathering them into one at the back of his head and finally securing it with a pure gold deer brooch. "This isn't really necessary, ba." Chen Xing felt rather shy. Dressed in accordance to the Chi Le Chuan's people custom, he saw a completely different self when looking at his appearance in the mirror. Just for one day, Xiangshu casually opened his mouth and spoke. After the festival is over, feel free to take it off. Chen Xing sprung up. Examining himself in the mirror, he felt that he was actually quite good looking. Okay, since you're going to be busy for now, I'll go out and play. Chen Xing knew that Xiangshu wouldn't be able to relax first thing in the morning, and only in the afternoon would he get some free time. He was ready to come back and pester him then, but for now, he planned to go out and stroll around first since it must be quite lively outside. Sit. Don't go anywhere. Xiangshu pointed to the other side of the royal couch. No way. Chen Xing said. I want to go out and watch them tame horses. Chen Xing, being stared at by Xiangshu's imposing eyes, was left with no other option. He had to turn toward the royal couch and sat on his knees. The tile youths came forward again, this time bringing a small table, which was then placed between Chen Xing and Xiangshu. On it were milk tea, dried fruit, and other snacks, as well as the great Chanyu's official seal. There was also a golden tray with dozens of hemp bags, each embroidered with a division totem. Chen Xing picked one up out of curiosity and asked, "What is this?" "Don't fiddle around. Put it back," Xiangshu reprimanded. "That is what we called the sacred grass of the ancient covenant. Inside of it is the seed of grass that has been offered as sacrifices to the Yin Mountains." A tile youth explained, "All tribes pursue dwellings that are abundant in water and grass. Each time they find a suitable place, they will hang this thing in front of the clan leader's royal tent, which signifies their prayers for vitality and prosperity." Chen Xing realized that this should be similar to the Han people's custom. These were rewards the great Chanyu would bestow upon people as a symbol of well-being. Resting his elbow on the table with his left leg leaning toward the tray and right leg hanging on the couch, Xiangshu said, "Pass my order, unveil the tent for the autumn close festival." The tile youths replied yes. In unison, they withdrew from the tent, rolled up the curtain, and set up the sun roof. There were golden lights everywhere outside the tent early in the morning, its light shining on Chen Xing and Xiangshu's bodies. Xiangshu, dressed in a royal garment with golden embroidered totems of 16 huas, a wing-shaped shoulder guard, and a golden belt, shone under the illumination of the morning sun. On the other hand, Chen Xing, looking elegant and bright in a navy blue martial robe, was currently stuffing food into his mouth because he got hungry after getting up. The four seas and the prairies are all the great Chanyu's land, and all of the people under the sky are all the great Chanyu's people. The 16 huas outside the tent entered in succession to pay homage. The moment Chen Xing heard the sound, he choked on the nuts he was eating. "Stop eating," Xiangshu frowned as he handed the milk tea over. "I didn't know you were going to open the tent up to accept homage." Chen Xing, who almost got choked to death, gulped down the milk tea. "We, the people of Ruren tribe, highly praise the great Chanyu's martial prowess." The first one to enter the tent was none other than the leader of the Ruren tribe, Che Lufeng. When he saw Chen Xing sitting by Xiangshu's side, a dull look couldn't help but appear in his eyes. "Hail the number one warrior under heaven, whose name is known as the master of the land beyond the Great Wall." The elders and warriors of the Ruren tribe entered one by one and knelt down to worship Xiangshu. Chen Xing, who had already experienced this during their time in Chang'an, immediately dared not be reckless. He sat well behaved on his knees and put his hands on his lap. Che Lufeng personally offered a feathered crown decorated with 16 feathers, their color ranging from black, indigo, navy blue, emerald green, ashen, and even pure white, but the most eye-catching of them all were the golden bird's feathers found on the summit of Mount Kilian, which glittered under the sunlight that seeped in from outside the sun roof. Every single golden pattern on the crown was carved personally by Che Lufeng, and every single feather attached, not including the golden bird ones, was also personally sought out by him from traveling all over the land north of the Great Wall for Xiangshu, while every single jewel was brought from a traveling merchant by him using a large sum of money. This feathered crown was handcrafted personally by Che Lufeng, the chief of the Ruren tribe, and the late Zhou, the greatest warrior of the Ruren tribe, for my Anda. Che Lufeng came forward and put the crown on the table before earnestly saying, there wasn't enough time to finish it back during the great Chanyu succession ceremony, so now, 5 years later, consider it as the fulfillment of my wish at that time. Thank you, Anda. Showing a rare smile, Xiangshu's slender fingers picked up a bag by clasping it in between his index and middle finger, and he handed it to Che Lufeng. In the name of all living things between heaven and earth, in the name of the Yin Mountains, the great Chanyu gives his prayer for the Ruren tribe, may your water and plant be abundant and your offspring be thriving in the year to come. Bowing down, Che Lufeng received the bag and withdrew. Xiangshu gave Chen Xing a signal with his eyes while pointing at the feathered crown. Chen Xing pretended not to understand. What? Xiangshu. Chen Xing thus got up and put the crown on Xiangshu after positioning himself behind him. When Xiangshu raised his hand in order to make a slight adjustment, his fingers touched Chen Xing's hand instead. The two people, seemingly having a tacit understanding, each pulled back. The tile people outside entered the tent to pay homage after Chen Xing sat down. The four seas and the prairies are all the great Chanyu's land, and all of the people under the sky. Each tribe gave out a unique impression when saying this sentence, but after listening again and again, Chen Xing actually still felt that the Han language sounded the best with its tonal speech. Yalasa. Xiangshu seemed to be in a very good today, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, carrying a faint smile as he looked at Che Lufeng, Shimoken, and the group of clansmen who had come to pay homage to him. It was they who had been watching him ever since 5 years ago when he began to take over from his father a responsibility that stretched long and unbroken beyond the Great Wall, a responsibility that would last for thousands of autumns. Taking a golden crown decorated with eagle feathers from his fellow clan member, Shimoken then said, "We, the Tile tribe, offer this crown for the divine doctor as a way to express our gratitude to this Han brother for helping my Hu people of Chi Le Chuan. We hope that for millennia to come, the two races will never wage war." Chen Xing, who instantly felt flattered by this gesture, said, "It's for me? Thank you, thank you. I like it so much." Xiangshu, taking the offered golden crown, impatiently beckoned Chen Xing to bring his head closer and casually put it on his head. Chen Xing, still fixing the crown on his head, asked, "Why weren't you the one coming over to put it on me?" "Because I'm the great Chanyu." Xiangshu finally reached the end of his patience. After handing over the seed to Shimoken, he said in a deep voice, "The great Chanyu gives his blessing to the Tile tribe, may your cattle and sheep multiply and your military merit be everlasting." People inside the tent suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After Shimoken withdrew, it was the leader of the Akele tribe, his consort, and his son who came in to have an audience. "We, the Akele tribe, greatly admire the great Chanyu's martial power." Chen Xing, who received a smile from the consort, smiled back at her. When they exchanged glances, the consort nodded in admiration. She thought he looked extraordinarily good on that garment. "May the offspring of your Akele tribe be blessed with never-ending fortune and a long life free of disease and disaster," said Xiangshu as he handed the seat over to King Akele. Following that, it was Murong Chong who raised the curtain. He brought along Princess King He and Tuaba Yan, followed by the clan leader of the Xianbei tribe in Chi Le Chuan, the elders, as well as their warriors. Murong Chong. Chen Xing was shocked. "When did you arrive?" Xiangshu casually asked. "Just last night." Murong Chong looked slightly awkward, but Princess King He emerged from the crowd and said, beaming with a smile, "We of the Xianbei tribe hold the great Chanyu's name in high esteem. We come to the great Chanyu with a specific purpose on this year's autumn close, that is, to implore him to bestow us his blessing so our whole tribe will be able to pass any calamity." Yalasa. Xiang Shu then picked up the seed and gave it to Murong Chong. The great Chanyu gives his blessing to the Xianbei tribe. May you emerge victorious in every battle and may your military prowess get ever stronger, so that you may finally return to your native land. Princess King He was choked with emotion, her eyes reddening immediately, while Murong Chong was stumped in place. Chen Xing gloomily thought, this is anything but good. For what reason would Murong Chong come to visit during the autumn close festival? He's most likely hoping to get Gle Covenant's support when starting a war with Fujian. But today is not the time to talk about affairs of the world, added Xiang Shu. Just celebrate the festival properly. Princess King He, highly cherishing it, put away the bag and led her clansmen to kowtow to Xiang Shu in gratitude. Following that was the Xiannu, the Mohi, the Jaok, and the rest of the tribes who came one after another to pay homage to the great Chanyu. Chen Xing had to use all of his might just to control himself from yawning all the time to the point that his face was showing a very strange expression. Xiang Shu, who was observing him, was simply between laughter and tears. After a full session, all of the tribes finally finished paying homage to Xiang Shu. After the final division withdrew, Che Lufeng, who had been waiting outside the tent, led the crowd to enter again and offered the Qi Li's jade bow as he knelt on one knee. It's finally time. Chen Xing thought. I can finally go out and have fun. Xiang Shu got up with confidence and patted Che Lufeng on the shoulder before taking the jade bow. Chen Xing nearly stumbled when he went down the couch, but the very startled Xiang Shu immediately turned around and half-hugged him. Cra cramps. Chen Xing hobbled over a few steps. Xiang Shu frowned. You sat for so long, of course they turned numb. Drum beats came from the foot of the mountains. Xiang Shu said to Chen Xing, keep up. Chen Xing shouted wow. The moment he went out of the royal tent. The cold wind from yesterday night had passed, replaced by snow that had now covered half of Gle Chuan. With golden yellow plain and white snow covering the mountains on its three sides, it looked like wonderful scenery straight out of a painting. Xiang Shu led everyone to the platform after mounting his horse, yet the moment he looked back after arriving in front of it, he couldn't see any trace of Chen Xing. When he was still busy knitting his brows as he looked for the man, Chen Xing, who had arrived in front of another spot, waved his hands. I'm here. I can see more clearly from the outside. Tuoba Yan, who was currently talking with Lu Ying and Xiao Shan with all smiles, saw Chen Xing and quickly beckoned him over. Chen Xing. Here. Chen Xing was thinking of going over there when a hand from behind pressed his shoulder. Turning his head, he saw that it was Murong Chong, who then brought him over to the wooden table set by the Xianbei people on the western side. The two stepped on the table, and the geese shooting platform could be seen across the crowd in the distance. I can't believe you actually came here, Chen Xing said in a low voice. Did you hit any setback inside the pass? No, don't be tense, Murong Chong said as he lightly touched Chen Xing, motioning for him to stop talking and look up. Xiang Shu had his eyes fixed on Chen Xing who was standing on the long table far away. The two thus looked at one another, separated only by a distance. Xiang Shu, a longbow in his hand, had his royal garment fluttering in the air. At this time, those earth-shattering drum beats coming off the platform, sounding alike to thousands of galloping horses, suddenly stopped. That dashing look and noble bearing were truly beyond compare. Chen Xing couldn't help but recall the past. At what time did he start falling in love with Xiang Shu any? It might have been when he had first caught sight of him doing this act. No, it should be said that he realized he had fallen in love with Xiang Shu on this day, but that unclear emotion might have been preordained to be born as early as the moment they had first met. A Ruran man offered up 2 geese, yet never once did Xiang Shu look at anyone by his side. From the very beginning, his gaze had gone past the crowd and landed on Chen Xing who stood 20 steps away. For a moment, the noisy crowd seemed to have completely gone far away. It was as if, among Gle Chuan's mountains, rivers, sky and earth, there were only the two of them. Wei. Chen Xing eventually couldn't bear it and shouted from afar. You, the great Chanyu who rules over the four seas and all of the people under the sky. Xiang Shu, who was in his royal garment, raised his eyebrows as he gazed at Chen Xing. The first time around, Chen Xing had once racked his brain trying to recall all of the lessons he had learned in his life, only for him to still be unable to find the right words to describe what he had been feeling at this moment. But today, when all of this once again gently came back in front of him amidst the flow of time, a ballad that his father had taught him once upon a time unexpectedly appeared in his mind. Oh, heaven high! Chen Xing, looking at Xiangshu from afar, began to sing from the bottom of his heart. Che Lukfeng untied the rope on the geese's feet. I wish to be your love forever and ever. Hearing Chen Xing's ballad, Murong Chong immediately responded. The moment people heard Chen Xing singing this ancient ballad in Xianbei language, they seemed to have been transported back to a certain time in the past. At that period, the Han people would sing Chi Le Chuan, under the Yin Mountains and the Five Hus, translating the Han's Uefa poems into each of the tribe's ancient language, would also eagerly pass them around. Chen Xing's act spread fast from 1 to 10 to hundreds of people. The Qiang people scattered all around began to play their Qiang flutes one after another, and soon enough, the lonely ancient rhythm reverberated all over the world. All my life, everlasting, never waning. Chen Xing said in a clear voice. Till the mountains flatten and the rivers run dry. Tua Bayan, following the rhyme of the Qiang flute, also sang in a low voice. The geese, dragging a red silk, soared into the sky the moment the Ruran man let go. The golden gong glittered in brilliance under the sunlight and quickly became a bright dot as the geese flew toward the horizon. Till it thunders in winter and it snows in summer. After knocking the arrow, Xiangshu did a full circle turn before drawing the bow in a full arc. Chen Xing continued singing, till the mountains flatten and heaven and earth join together. 3 arrows, fired in succession, flew toward the boundless, clear sky. Xiangshu's gaze, no longer fixed at the sky after shooting, once again returned to Chen Xing in the distance. Only then will I part from you. Chen Xing smiled as he recited. First, the sound of Qiang flute reverberated, followed by a melody that resounded all over the sky. When the ancient ballad that echoed throughout the land stopped, a soft dang followed, indicating that the golden gong had been successfully smashed to pieces. Next, cheers, loud laughter, and shouts rang through everyone's ears. A tide of people completely dispersed and suddenly, it was chaotic everywhere. Hundreds of thousands of people were either fighting over drinks, flocking around, or taking up places. They scattered to various venues as if competing with each other. And thus, the Grand Autumn Close Festival began. Chen Xing hurriedly jumped off the table. The first thing the Hu people did once they came was grabbing the wooden cups of kumis. If Chen Xing hadn't left quickly, those drunken people would have most likely gotten some wine splashed over his body. Murong Chong also walked away, and the open space was quickly filled with people. Chen Xing stood on tiptoe and called out, Xiangshu. After handing over the jade bow to a warrior and coming down the platform, Xiangshu walked toward Chen Xing. Che Lufeng shouted, Anda. I want to have a drink with you. Xiangshu, turning around, continued to walk in reverse for a few steps. The feathered crown on his head, glinting under the light of the sun, shook a little bit along with his movement. I'll come find you again in a while. Xiangshu said before turning back again and looking for Chen Xing's whereabouts. Chen Xing drowned among the all-drunk crowd on the wine table. At the beginning of the Autumn Close Festival, regardless of everything, everyone would grab one round of wine and get themselves intoxicated before going to play. People had begun to push and shove, their blank eyes already failing to recognize Xiangshu. Xiangshu. I'm here. Chen Xing was unable to squeeze away from the crowd. Xiangshu, who finally managed to push a group of drunkards away, crossed over the crowd and grabbed Chen Xing's wrist, dragging him out. I told you not to run so far. Xiang Shu brought Chen Xing along and pushed a man who stood in their way. Chen Xing said, "Want to drink?" Xiang Shu halted his steps while Chen Xing picked up 2 filled wooden cups. Xiang Shu then said, "The great Chan Yu allows it. You drink half a cup, Ge Wang will drink a full cup." Chen Xing dared not drink everything for fear he might get himself drunk and wouldn't manage to do anything today. Thus, he and Xiang Shu saluted each other and only drank half a cup as they stood under the ancient tree. After drinking, Xiang Shu wiped the corners of his mouth as he looked up toward the snow-covered Yin Mountains. When he once again lowered his head, he looked at Chen Xing as if he was hesitating to say something. Chen Xing's heart violently thumped at once. He was a little bit tipsy as he waited for it. Perhaps Xiang Shu would finally speak out that sentence. "Anda!" Che Lukfeng's voice was heard. Chen Xing immediately raged. "You again? Why is it always you?" Xiang Shu immediately turned around and realized something. "Han man." Che Lukfeng focused on Chen Xing. "Let's go drink together? And have a chat while at it?" The mood that had been brewing for a long time was suddenly interrupted by Che Lukfeng. After staying silent for quite a while, Xiang Shu finally said, "Anda, since you're here, I have something I want to say to you." "Chen Xing, wait for me here." Che Lukfeng, Chen Xing ignored Xiang Shu and instead said, "I have this idea that has been lingering on my mind for quite some time. Why don't we have a fair and square, open challenge on this day?" Che Lukfeng was stunned. He didn't think Chen Xing would take a lead in issuing a challenge to himself. He laughed and asked, "What kind?" Chen Xing said, "How about shooting on horse? One person gets 3 arrows. Che Lukfeng, "Okay, since there can be no fight inside Chi Le Chuan, let's go to the competition arena." Xiang Shu exclaimed, "Che Lukfeng." Chen Xing and Che Lukfeng, each carrying a smile, just simultaneously looked at Xiang Shu. Outside the riding competition arena, the Rurans, the Teals, and the Zionists crowded in one after another. The 2 competitors each received 3 blunt-headed arrows smeared with lime. Xiang Shu asked, "What are you betting on, Annie?" "I think we all have a tacit understanding as to what it is, ba." Although Chen Xing was smiling at Che Lukfeng, he was actually nervous to death in his heart. He only pretended to be indifferent on the surface and pleaded that by showing an imposing manner, he would get some advantage over his opponent. Getting on his horse, Che Lukfeng's eyes were locked on Chen Xing as he said, "Not bad. I'll give up 1 arrow for you. I'll only use 2 arrows. Chen Xing, no need. Each gets 3, shoot them all." Che Lukfeng, "You said it yourself, Han man. After this, don't blame me for bullying you. If it's a draw, regard it as my loss." Chen Xing also flipped over and mounted his horse. Over 10 of thousands of people suddenly gathered on the sidelines. The arena was packed in and out as people watched Chen Xing and Che Lukfeng on the field. The consort of Akale people yelled in Xiongnu language, "Chen Xing, Che Lukfeng is very swift when controlling horses. Don't let him get out of your sight." When Chen Xing mounted his horse, he actually forgot that he was wearing a Han-style, leftover right martial robe. He tripped over the corner of his robe as he stepped on the stirrup and nearly slipped off, causing a burst of laughter from people. Chen Xing, after much difficulty, finally stabilized himself on the seat. It was as if there was an unseen hand of heaven looking out for him, picking out his clothing and hairstyle. This garment allowed for easy movement and was tailored for mounted archery, while his bound and thin braided hair, not easily scattered by the wind, wouldn't block his line of sight. The martial-style sleeves also made it easy to draw a bow and shoot arrows. Xiang Shu said, "If you can't do it, just shout stop." Xiang Shu only regarded this as a way for Che Lukfeng and Chen Xing to swap pointers. He thought that Chen Xing, who had been learning how to shoot along the road, couldn't help but feel itchy to try his skill during the autumn close festival. Measuring the 2 people's skills, while Che Lufeng's martial skill was taught to him by Zhou Zhen. Since he often had Zhou Zhen protecting him, his mounted archery skill would most likely be out of practice. On the other hand, talking about archery alone, Chen Xing's skill was passed on from the greatest warrior himself. Moreover, along the way, he had used the white deer as a target for dash and hit practice day after day, so he might really have the ability to fight. No one on the field dared to strike the drum, however, since the identities of both sides were very special. Xiang Shu, who had no choice but to walk over, was offered a signal arrow by a warrior. Xiang Shu bent his bow and fired the arrow, which, as it flew toward the horizon, let out signal noise. End chapter.